Okay, we'd like to welcome you to our Bible study and current event study for July 1st, 2007. And this whole teaching is going to be devoted to Harry Potter today. I believe the Harry Potter movie is being released this weekend, the new one that's just coming out, and I thought it was appropriate. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about it, like there always is when these movies come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a teaching on it today and see exactly what's going on with Harry Potter. And we're going to be citing this from many different sources today, the information, and then commenting on it like we normally do. The first article that we're going to get into is one called Sorcery Sells and the Young Are Buying. And this is from a website, www.agc.com. And this is by a Laura Mallory. And I believe this is a commentary she wrote, and I thought this was appropriate to kind of kick things off today. And this starts out by saying Laura Mallory of Loganville has sought to have the Harry Potter books removed from the Gwinnett County Public Schools, going before the Gwinnett Board of Education, the Georgia Board of Education, and the Gwinnett County Superior Court. She is now considering taking her fight to the federal court. This week she wrote the following piece for the AJC Gwinnett Opinions. Evidently this is a newspaper in Gwinnett, Georgia. So this woman is really putting her money where her mouth is. And it goes on to say, the mass media today knows all too well that sorcery sells. Now, when we hear that word sorcery, that's basically witchcraft. That's what we think of in the Bible. Interestingly also is where the root word for sorcery in the Bible is called pharmakia. And that word pharmakia is where we get the word pharmacy or pharmaceutical or pharmacist, because they use drugs. Because, see, most of the time sorcery, and this goes all the way back thousands of years, sorcery is normally associated with the use of drugs. Normally these are mind-altering drugs. It's not like particularly taking a cholesterol medication. Of course, all medications can ultimately alter brain function. But these are more mind-altering drugs, because what the mind-altering drugs do is they allow, we'll call them evil entities, we'll call them evil spirits, whatever you want to call them. It's kind of like they give you open doors. So one part of witchcraft that a lot of people are not aware of is that many of these people that do witchcraft ceremonies and things of this nature, what they do is they'll actually take drugs, because what that does is it makes them more susceptible to the evil spirits that influence them during these ceremonies. So that's just a kind of a little side note there. In fact, I've got a whole email. And if you want to email me about any of the things that we get into in these sermons, you can email me at drjohnson@x.netcom.com. And that website, that email address is also up on the website. You can click on it. So what they're saying here is that sorcery sells in today's day and age. And the market for this sorcery is none other than our children. So see, this is what Satan's attempting to do right now, is he's attempting to get as many children involved in witchcraft as he possibly can. Now, why would he want to do that? Why would Satan want to do that? Well, we know we're getting nearer and nearer to the end times, to the 7-year tribulation, to that time when the Antichrist comes to power, to that time when he's going to do all lying signs and wonders. The Bible says this is going to happen. And these lying signs and wonders are going to be witchcraft. Okay? In Daniel, it says clearly that the Antichrist is going to cause craft to prosper. Now, that's not craft cheese or craft anything like that. I'm talking or arts and crafts. The craft they're in reference to in the Bible is witchcraft. Okay? If you look at what the one world religion of the Antichrist is going to be in its purest form, it's going to be witchcraft. So, don't you think that if Satan is going to have 7 years on this earth, and he's going to do this and he's going to do that, he's going to do some things prior to that. In fact, he's been doing this for hundreds of years, preparing the world, and the Lord's letting all this happen because the Bible predicted it was going to happen. So it's not like God's not on the throne. It's not like God's not still in control. But what's happening is the Lord is letting all this happen because the Bible predicted it was going to happen. And what Satan is trying to do right now in a very, very big way is set the world up and get as many people involved in witchcraft so that when he makes his big debut on the scene, when the Antichrist does, there'll be a lot of people already involved in this stuff. It'll make his job a lot easier. So if we go further, it says, just take a look at the flood of the occult books. Now when we hear the word occult, what occult means, when you spell occult, it's O-C-C-U-L-T. What that word occult means is hidden. Now, most of these religions, that particularly the more demonic they become, deal a lot with hidden knowledge. You get into them, and it seems okay at the very beginning, and then all of a sudden you have to do this, and you have to do this, and there's all these hidden things. It's like Satan has a big carrot out in front of you, and you got to keep going after the carrot over and over and over again. And that's how Satan works. So she goes on to say, just take a look at the flood of the occult books, the movies, the television shows, the video games, and there's no denying it. Now, all these things she just mentioned, the books, the movies, the television shows, and the video games, what Satan has done, through his fallen angelic and demonic army, through the people that they control, is they have, and particularly through Hollywood, they have pre-positioned a lot of this stuff that gets these kids involved in witchcraft. The video games, just that alone. There's so much evil in these video games nowadays. I mean, not every single one of them, but so many of them are just flat out occult. You've got the movies, you've got the TV shows, you've got probably board games, you've got things like Ouija boards, you've got books. Many children and teens today fascinated with Harry Potter are seeking Harry's power. See, a lot of these kids watch these shows and they say, hey, that kid's got power. He's got power to do this and he's got power to do that. And you'll notice people that are involved in witchcraft, they talk a lot about power. Now, I dealt for a long time with a lot of, I've dealt with a lot of Haitian patients, kind of sporadically as a chiropractor. And I've noticed that the Haitians are immersed in witchcraft, high-level witchcraft called voodoo. If you go to Haiti, 99% of the people there practice voodoo. 95% of them are also Roman Catholic, because Roman Catholicism melds so nicely with voodoo, because they have their little idols they worship, and they do this and they do that, and that's all Catholicism is, really. It's just repackaged witchcraft. It's a cult. Well, what I noticed about a lot of these Haitians is they talked a lot about power. Always wanting to have power over other people. And I could never understand that, because I have a hard enough time dealing with my own bad self. You know what I mean? My own flesh. I don't want to have power over all these other people. It's just not a motivation for me. But I notice that people that are involved in the occult really have a big hang-up on having power over others. And I think it goes with the territory of this whole witchcraft thing. So anyway, that was just another little side note there. Going back to the article, it says, what exactly is Harry's power? Where does it come from? Is this just a harmless fantasy power? Or perhaps is there something more to it? Let's take a closer look at the effects of Harry Potter on this generation. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read you from a book. It's called We Love Harry Potter, and we are going to tell you why. That's the name of this book, okay? These are kids talking. This is from Dylan. He's age 10. Here's a quote from Dylan. Now, this is in this book. He says, quote, I want to go to wizard school. Now, when they say wizard school, that's kind of you think of a wizard, you think of a guy with a nice big pointy hat and with his little magic wand. But see, all a wizard is basically a witch or a warlock or somebody deeply involved in the occult. But a wizard is kind of a nicer way of saying it. Doesn't have as much of quite of a negative connotation as you'd say, well, he's a witch. Oh, no, he's a wizard. You know, it sounds a little better. So they like to use the word wizard. But it's all the same. So Dylan says, I want to go to wizard school and learn magic. I'd like to learn to use a wand and cast spells. End of quote. A wand. Well, that's pure witchcraft. You start getting involved. Now, do you realize that in the Old Testament, if you lived in the Old Testament and you were caught practicing witchcraft, you were killed. That was according to God's law. You were killed. That's how serious of an offense it was. The Bible also says, now the Bible says, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Okay, so this is something that all witches are. They're